Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. And by Burns & Scallow Roofing and Real Estate, dedicated to improving the profitability and sustainability of our clients. Visit our website to learn about the power of two. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, the rubber duck floats our way. It's a global sensation that is expected to attract tens of thousands of visitors to our region. Plus, a Pittsburgh couple turns a taste for Mexican sauces into a business. But first, the high-stakes debate over transportation and transit funding in Harrisburg. Lawmakers are returning to the legislature after failing to solve the funding crisis before they adjourn for the summer. And now business and labor are getting worried. They say failure to act could not just inconvenience commuters, motorists, and truckers across the Commonwealth. Hundreds of construction workers could lose their jobs. Rich Barcaskey is Executive Director of the Construction Association of Western Pennsylvania, and Jim Kunz is Business Manager for the Operating Engineers Local 66. And welcome. Good to see both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, really high stakes coming up in Harrisburg in the next couple of weeks, huh?
Right. This fall is the chance to finally get the transportation funding bill done since it was not passed in June.
Okay, why is this such a big deal that labor and management are sort of locking arms to make a statement here?
Oh, it's a huge, economic stimulus for Pennsylvania, both in jobs and economic growth. And for labor, for my labor union, it is about jobs. So, I have a vested interest. My members work in that industry, run the bulldozers and the cranes that build the roads and the bridges, but they are also building other things. And without good infrastructure, good roads and bridges, ways for business to move material in and product out and move their employees around, they're not going to come to Pennsylvania. They're not going to develop. So the transportation funding plan creates probably about 50,000 jobs once it hits the $2.5 billion additional a year, and that's both in construction and out of construction. About half of that might be construction related, but the other half is everything from manufacturing to retail. So a huge economic benefit for the state of Pennsylvania.
Well, yeah, you think about that, the ripple effect. I mean, the transportation network's sort of the arteries that the economy flows through.
Yes, it is definitely the artery system, or some people refer to it as the power plant of the economic generator that is Pennsylvania. It's estimated that PennDOT, without funding, will reduce their lettings, the projects that they let each year throughout the Commonwealth. They'll reduce it from somewhere around $2 billion to about $1.5 billion. So what we looked at was, what does that mean, a $500 million reduction to contractors that I represent, private industries that are bidding and maintaining the infrastructure that's out there. And what it shows is that, almost 7,000 jobs could be lost throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And an additional, as Jim said, 7,000 jobs just from other industries, retail industries, because you're going to have people that they're out of work and they're not able to buy the things that they need to do. So it really is, it has its tentacles, if you will, in every aspect of our society, having an adequate transportation system.
So whatever kind of construction we see, highway maintenance that's going on now, we would see a lot less of it in the very near future if the legislature doesn't do it.
Yes, and on the other side of that, if it is passed under Senate Bill 1 levels, which is $2.5 billion, 1.9 billion of that going to actually road and bridge construction. In the Pittsburgh metro region, they are forecasting that over a 4-year period, that's $390 million worth of construction projects, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about actually the money that PennDOT uses to let to private industry so that they can help maintain that industry.
Well, and I haven't heard too many people opposed to this. It seems like every major business organization in the state, and the smaller ones, labor seems to be for it, the environmentalists, I mean, everybody seems to be for this. But if there have been some critics, it seems to fall into the government spending camp. But this is more about investment.
Well, it's definitely investment, and think about it. There was a recent study that showed that the average motorist in the Pittsburgh region spends about $1,400 a year out of pocket because they're either sitting in congestion or damage or detours, et cetera, caused by bad roads and bridges. $1,400. That's $27 a week. This funding plan would cost the average motorist in Pennsylvania $2.50 a week. Who wouldn't invest $2.50 to bring that $27 down to $10, $5, whatever it is? That's what this is about. It's an investment, but the public itself, the taxpayer that may not think they see a benefit in this, is going to actually see a benefit in their wallets over a short period of time by reduced costs. You notice there's a toll or weight restriction increase on the Liberty Bridge. It went to 32 tons. That has pretty well eliminated all tractor trailers from coming across the Liberty Bridge. So two things happen. First, almost everything you and I buy is delivered by truck, whether it's at the grocery store or gasoline at your gas station. Those trucks now will have to take a longer detour to get their product to market. That's going to increase costs. In addition, on top of all of that, all of those trucks that used to come across the Liberty Bridge will now have to either go across through the Fort Pitt tunnels and in that way, or through the West End Circle. What's that going to do? That's going to increase congestion at both of those pinch points here in Pittsburgh. But you can take that anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania. When you limit a bridge, trucks have to go around, school buses have to go around, so the taxpayer ends up paying more anyway in increased costs.
And that's just one example. And PennDOT is what, weight restricted hundreds of bridges already across the Commonwealth based on what's likely to happen here.
Right.
So the stakes are very high. Any optimism at all that the legislature can figure this out when they come back in September and October?
I think there is optimism. Obviously, we've been discussing this issue for quite some time. If you go back, the last user fee increase for transportation in the state of Pennsylvania was 1997.
Wow.
So we're going on a number of years there. But in the past, what I would say probably the brightest light of optimism that's out there would be the Senate Bill 1 and that passage by bipartisan
Strong support in the Senate. Right.
45 to 5. Somebody had said to me, you know, what issue out there today do you see, 45 state senators getting behind and only 5 not being behind? And I can't think of anyone. Transportation funding has always been bipartisan, and I think that if the House can just use what the Senate did and able to reach across the aisle, come to an agreement, a bipartisan agreement to get this done, then we're looking in the fall and hopefully next construction season. Our contractors, his members are ramping up.
Hard at work.
Yes.
All right. Now I guess is the time to make your voices heard in Harrisburg. Rich Barcaskey from the Construction Association, Jim Kunz from the Operating Engineers. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, how a taste for home turned into a business for a Pittsburgh couple. Stay with us.